The following literature seeks only to expose truth to the American people. It by no means intends to promote racist or divisive attitude. In fact, stating these facts should bring American citizens closer together than ever, as is our intent, as we delve into the modern flight of the Black American. For those who are not of that demographic, realize that this work seeks to expose the playbook of an enemy who will oppress anyone. So whatever group you may find yourself in that is not Black American, understand that your group has been targeted historically as well, and it is for you that we have no less sympathy. Many naive, unaware Black Americans who support the Democratic Party and endorse so-called pro-Black groups such as the NAACP perceived Lyndon B. Johnson, who took over the presidency of the United States after the assassination of Kennedy, some type of idol or heroic figure in the plight of the Black Americans. We beg to differ. Lyndon B. Johnson has been quoted on record stating, "I will have these Negroes voting Democrat for 100 years and give them something, but not enough to make a difference." Lyndon B. Johnson's signing of the Civil Rights Act made him appear to be a sympathizer of Black Americans, but in reality, his actions merely served to pacify Black Americans as needing nefarious agendas against them were continued, this time with Black Americans consenting to their own demise through coercion and trickery. Truthfully, the signing of the Civil Rights Act and the subsequent idolizing of Martin Luther King Jr. as a poster child for victory in the civil rights movement was only a illusory gesture of kindness that served to be the gift wrap of a massive Trojan horse. The contents of this massive Trojan horse was the vicious disenfranchisement of Black Americans that persists to this day. This thesis, that post-Civil Rights Act policies, particularly under Democratic administrations, have contributed to the economic marginalization of Black Americans through mechanisms like immigration waves, outsourcing, and illusory progress, frames Lyndon B. Johnson as a pivotal figure whose actions mask deeper agendas, leading to disenfranchisement across key industries. Drawing from historical records, economic data, and scholarly analyses, we verify these claims through timelines, real-world examples, and evidence from diverse sources, including government reports, academic studies, and think tanks representing various perspectives. This includes both supporting data and counter-arguments to provide a fuller picture, as subjective media viewpoints can introduce bias. The core argument that systemic forces have displaced Black economic opportunities aligns with critiques from figures like Claude Anderson, whose Powernomics framework, developed in the 1990s and published in 2001, emphasizes Black self-sufficiency through vertical integration in industries. However, counterviews from organizations like the Migration Policy Institute argue that immigration often fills labor gaps rather than directly displacing workers, and that structural racism, e.g., discrimination in hiring, plays a larger role in Black unemployment. Economic data shows Black median household income at about $65,800 as of 2024, a 3.3% decrease from the prior year, unchanged for over 2 decades, and highlighting persistent disparities despite civil rights gains. We challenge the idolization of LBJ, quoting him as saying, "I will have these Negroes voting Democrat for 100 years and give them something, but not enough to make a difference." These quotes, while widely circulated, are attributed to LBJ in secondary sources but lack direct primary evidence like audio recordings. A common variant appears in Ronald Kessler's 1995 book Inside the White House. These Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us, since they've got something now they never had before, the political and the economic righteousness of power. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. I'll have them N*S voting Democratic for the next 200 years. This is echoed in a 2014 Reddit discussion, citing Robert Caro's biography series on LBJ, where similar sentiments are implied during the 1960s civil rights debates, and further corroborated in a 2014 MSNBC article titled, "Lyndon Johnson was a civil rights hero, but also a racist," which draws from historical accounts of LBJ's private conversations, including White House tapes revealing his use of racial slurs. Critics, including historians on PBS and the American Presidency Project, note that while LBJ used racial slurs privately, as recorded in White House tapes, the exact quotes may be apocryphal or exaggerated for political effect. Yet volumes like the University of Virginia Press's digital collection on LBJ's civil rights discussions, published 2020s, document nearly 200 presidential conversations laced with racial undertones, blending public heroism with private bigotry, which sowed seeds for policies that pacified rather than empowered. Another verified quote from LBJ in 1964, as reported by Snopes and various sources, underscores his manipulative view. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act on July 2, 1964, banning discrimination in public accommodations, employment, and voting. It followed Kennedy's assassination in November 1963 and built on the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Proponents credit it with accelerating Black economic progress. From 1964 to 1970, Black men's income gap with whites narrowed by about a third, reaching 60% of white earnings by 1970 per Brookings Institution data. Black poverty fell from 55% in 1959 to 30% by 1970, aided by access to better jobs in manufacturing and public sectors. However, the Trojan horse metaphor finds support in critiques. A 1992 NBER paper argues that post-1960s gains stalled as Black migration from the South slowed, and discriminatory practices persisted, leading to higher incarceration and job loss. The Act's Title VII, banning employment discrimination, opened doors, but enforcement was weak. By the 1980s, Reagan-era deregulation exacerbated outsourcing. A 2015 Boston University Law Review article notes regional economic advances for Blacks in the South post-Act, but national disparities widened due to deindustrialization. Counter-arguments from the Economic Policy Institute, EPI, emphasize that the act reduced occupational segregation, allowing Blacks into white-collar jobs, though gains were uneven. Martin Luther King Jr.'s idolization as a poster child ties into this. His 1968 assassination came amid his shift to economic justice, e.g. Poor People's Campaign, highlighting unfinished work. Anderson in Powernomics argues civil rights focused on integration over economic power, allowing immigrants to capture niches Blacks could have dominated. Post-1964, Black economic mobility surged initially but faced headwinds from globalization. 1970s onward, immigration reforms like the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, which ended national quotas, increasing non-European inflows, and outsourcing. BLS data shows Black unemployment averaged 10 to 12% from 1970 to 2020, double the white rate, and by August 2025, it stands at 7.5%, its highest since October 2021. Here's an expansion on the listed industries, drilling down on cause and effect, with additional evidence from 2020 to 2025 data. Manufacturing/factory work, the Great Migration, 1910 to 1970, saw 6 million Blacks move north for industrial jobs in cities like Detroit and Chicago, filling wartime labor shortages during World War I, 1914 to 1918, and World War II, 1939 to 1945. By 1970, Blacks held 20 to 30% of auto and steel jobs in these areas. Decline began in the 1970s with deindustrialization. U.S. manufacturing employment fell from 19 million in 1979 to 12 million by 2020, per BLS. A 2018 CEPR study shows this hit Blacks hardest, with job losses correlating to higher ghetto poverty, drugs, and violence, e.g. 1980s crack epidemic in Detroit. Outsourcing to Asia/Mexico via NAFTA 1994 exacerbated this. Black manufacturing share dropped from 15% in 1980 to 9% by 2020. Cause and effect here is stark. Factory closures caused immediate unemployment spikes, e.g. 25% in Detroit's Black communities by 1980, leading to poverty rates doubling to 40 to 50% in affected areas by the 1990s, which in turn fueled drug trade as a survival economy. Crack cocaine influx in the 1980s to 90s resulted in homicide rates tripling in cities like Chicago per CDC data, entrenching cycles of incarceration. This perpetuated intergenerational poverty, reducing educational attainment. High school dropout rates hit 20% in deindustrialized zones, and limiting future job prospects, creating a feedback loop where crime became a normalized response to economic despair. Recent 2020 to 2025 data from the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, AEM, highlights how immigration system flaws undermine manufacturing resurgence, with vacancies persisting due to lack of policy reforms, indirectly displacing Blacks as immigrants fill gaps in related low-skilled roles. A 2007 NBER study reinforces that a 10% immigration boost reduces Black employment by 2.4%. Counter EPI argues automation, not just immigration, drove losses. EPI, however, may serve as paid opposition here, funded heavily by labor unions, 29% of funding 2005 to 2009, with Democratic ties, and foundations like Soros's Open Society, contributed in 2014 and ongoing, per Influence Watch and congressional reports, with Soros's broader Dem donations exceeding $10 million in 2024 cycles. It often aligns with per-union, anti-free market agendas that downplay immigration's role to support globalist policies. These ties affect the situation by promoting narratives that shift blame from policy-driven displacement to inevitable tech changes, influencing public opinion through reports cited in media like the New York Times, swaying masses to oppose immigration restrictions and perpetuate job competition that harms Black workers, while unions benefit from expanded membership in low-wage sectors. Construction and trades. Post-World War II baby boomers, born 1946 to 1964, access union training, with Blacks comprising 10 to 15% of skilled trades by 1970. Hispanic immigration surged after 1965, rising from 4% of the population in 1960 to 19% by 2020. BLS data. Immigrants hold 22% of construction jobs, 2024, up from 19% in 2015, while Blacks are just 6%. A 2007 NBER study found a 10% immigration increase depresses Black wages by 3 to 4% in low-skilled sectors, and a 2025 EPI report on deportations predicts job losses in construction due to immigrant reliance, implying displacement over time. Example: in Los Angeles, Mexican immigrants dominated post-1990s, per USC research, and by 2025, per National Association of Home Builders, NAHB, immigrants comprise 32.5% of construction tradesmen nationwide, with states like California and Texas at 40 to 50%. This displacement caused Black construction employment to plummet 30% in urban areas by 2000, leading to wage stagnation. Black tradesmen earning 20% less adjusted for inflation by 2020, enforcing many into unstable gig work, exacerbating poverty, and contributing to higher crime rates in communities like South LA, where drug-related arrests rose 40% amid economic stress. By 2025, Axios reports in Northwest Arkansas show foreign-born workers dominating construction at rates up to 25%, correlating with Black counter. Baker Institute notes immigrants feel shortages amid labor crises, e.g., 2024 post-hurricane recovery, not displacing, but complementing. And a 2024 Institute workshop emphasized immigration as key to workforce boosts. The Baker Institute, with ties to fossil fuel interests, e.g., BP Ventures funding-related projects, and $998 million in VC ties to global energy firms, and major philanthropy from Gates Foundation, Elma Philanthropies, and CIFF, as in 2025 reports on child health initiatives, may downplay displacement to favor pro-business immigration policies that benefit energy sectors reliant on cheap labor. These connections affect the situation by prioritizing corporate profits over American workers, influencing public opinion through expert reports that frame immigration as essential for growth, swaying masses to support open borders that undercut Black tradesmen and deepen economic divides. Convenience stores. In segregated 1960s to 70s Black neighborhoods, locals owned many corner stores. Immigration from India, Middle East post-1965 shifted this. By 2013, immigrants owned 61% of U.S. gas stations, convenience stores, per Fiscal Policy Institute. In Detroit, MENA immigrants own 90% of gas stations and most convenience stores. Tensions arose, e.g., 1990s boycotts in Chicago against Arab-owned stores. This takeover caused Black entrepreneurship rates in retail to drop 25% by 2000, leading to capital flight from communities, profits leaving neighborhoods, heightening poverty and fostering environments where drug sales filled economic voids, per Urban Studies. Counter. JSTOR analyses show these stores provide essential services in food deserts, though cultural clashes persist. JSTOR, funded by Mellon Foundation and seen as pro-science but with biases in archiving liberal-leaning content, e.g., emphasis on diversity benefits over displacement, may emphasize positive immigrant roles to align with globalist narratives. This biases content selection, affecting public opinion by promoting multicultural success stories in academia, influencing masses to view immigrant dominance as progress rather than competition that erodes Black economic bases. Restaurants, particularly seafood. Anderson's Powernomics, 2001, proposed Black-owned fish farms distributing to restaurants, leveraging cultural affinity, e.g., soul food traditions. Chinese immigration, post-1980s, led to dominance. In urban black areas like Baltimore, Chinese carryout specialize in fried seafood. Middle Eastern-owned spots, e.g., viral halal seafood boils, surged in 2010s via social media. Data. Yelp reviews show 40 to 50% of seafood spots in majority black zip codes are immigrant-owned. This competition caused black restaurant failure rates to rise 15% by 2010, reducing community wealth circulation and contributing to food insecurity, which correlates with higher drug abuse as stress coping mechanisms. Counter. Anderson's warnings on competition are echoed, but Pew notes black entrepreneurship rose 13% from 2019 to 2023 in food services. Pew, funded by Pew Charitable Trust in Templeton, with conservative religious biases but pro-immigration in reports, e.g., Joint Pew Templeton projects downplaying migrant impacts and All Sides rating Pew as center, but with noted trust surveys showing biases in 2025 reports on life worries, may understate displacement to promote nonpartisan but pro-immigration views. These ties shape reports that influence public opinion toward viewing immigration as enriching, swaying masses to overlook how it crowds out black business ecosystems. Information technology. Black interest spiked in late 1990s .com boom, with enrollments up 20% in computer science. Indian H-1B visas, post-1990 reforms, exploded. Indians founded 13.4% of Silicon Valley startups, 2012 Forbes data. By 2024, Indians lead firms like Google, Sundar Pichai, since 2015. Blacks hold 7% of tech jobs versus 26% for Asians, EEOC 2023. This influx caused black tech representation to stagnate, limiting wealth building. Median black tech salary 15% below industry average, exacerbating urban poverty and related social issues. By 2025, Center for Migration Studies data shows 8.5 million undocumented workers in high-growth occupations like tech, indirectly competing in entry-level roles. Counter. Noah Smith argues Indian immigrants boost innovation, creating jobs overall. Smith, a Bloomberg columnist who endorsed Democrat Elizabeth Warren and consistently advocates pro-immigration in pieces like On Immigration, What Americans Want, 2024, may be biased toward democratic globalism. His endorsements affect opinion by framing restrictions as anti-growth, influencing masses via mainstream outlets to support visas that displace black talent. Smoke shops marijuana legalization began in Colorado/Washington 2012, spreading to 24 states by 2024. Blacks, disproportionately arrested, 3.6x whites pre-2010s, sought equity programs. Yemeni immigrants exploited THCA loopholes post-2018 Farm Bill, opening approximately 40,000 shops nationwide by 2023. In 2021, only 4.3% of cannabis businesses were black-owned, CNBC. This rapid dominance caused missed wealth opportunities, perpetuating poverty cycles tied to past criminalization. Counter. Pew shows 81% of blacks favor legalization for equity, but regulations hinder entry. Transportation. Trucking boomed for blacks in 1970s. CDL standardized via 1986 Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act. Immigrant drivers, e.g., via H-2B visas, rose post-1990s. By 2024, 20% of truckers are foreign-born, TT News. Taxi/Uber. Immigrants dominate 60 to 70% in NYC, 2019. This shift caused black driver wages to fall 10 to 15% adjusted, contributing to economic instability. Migration Policy Institute 2024 data notes trucking overtook construction as top sector for U.S.-born black men by 2022, implying displacement push. Counter. FreightWaves notes immigrants address shortages, not cause them. FreightWaves, with funding from pro-business VCs like 8BC, $998 million raised in 2025, ties to global trade, and strategic investors like Hearst Ventures may bias toward immigration to support logistics growth. These VC ties promote content favoring open borders for supply chain efficiency, influencing industry opinion and masses to view restrictions as harmful, overlooking displacement effects on black drivers. Call centers. Blacks comprise 20 to 30% of U.S. call center workers. BLS 2023. Outsourcing to India began in 1990s. By 2024, 60% of U.S. customer service calls are offshore. Forbes. Example. AT&T outsourced 10,000 jobs in 2020s. This caused black job losses of 15 to 20% in the sector by 2020, worsening poverty in service-dependent communities. Counter. CWA Union argues it saves costs, creating U.S. oversight roles. CWA. giving 97% of funds to Democrats, $44 million since 1990, including $13.9 million in 2024 cycle for Open Secrets, with $13.9 million specifically in the 2024 election cycle, may minimize outsourcing's harm to align with pro-globalization democratic policies. These donations affect policy by lobbying for trade deals that enable outsourcing, influencing public opinion through union-backed campaigns that frame globalization as progressive, swaying masses to support policies that erode Black steady employment. Trump's America First policies address this via reduced immigration/outsourcing. From 2017 to 2021, Black unemployment hit a historic low of 5.4% in 2019, with 1.4 million jobs added for Blacks, White House data, driven by tariffs protecting manufacturing and H-1B restrictions curbing tech displacement. Black poverty fell to 18.8% by 2019, and homeownership rose to 42.2% per census data. In his second term, 2025 onward, America First policies like the January 20th, 2025 Executive Order on Trade Revitalization spurred supply chain onshoring, adding 500,000 manufacturing jobs by mid-2025, with Black gains at 15% of those per BLS, countering deindustrialization effects. Investopedia's 2025 analysis notes transformative shifts, with tariffs potentially boosting domestic production and wages in protected sectors by 3 to 5%. Tariffs on imports reduce foreign competition, boosting Black wages by 3 to 5% in protected sectors, while immigration enforcement, e.g., border wall expansions and 2025 raids targeting undocumented workers in construction, limited low-wage influx, stabilizing construction and transportation jobs. Per Missouri Independent, 2025, deportations could reshape construction, where immigrants hold 25 to 30% of roles, opening opportunities for displaced Blacks. However, critiques from American Progress note his federal job cuts disproportionately hit Blacks, 18% of federal workforce, and DEI bans could widen gaps, with reports like Trump's agenda is a direct threat to the Black middle class, August 2025, claiming 300,000 Black women left the labor force in Q2 2025 due to policy pressures. As of 2025, rising Black unemployment, 7.5%, is linked to similar policies per CBPP's Republican Agenda's Triple Threat, August 2025. While Blacks may have lost jobs due to federal cuts, these were necessary to shrink our bloated government, reducing wasteful spending that burdens all taxpayers, and allowing for more efficient resource allocation toward American workers. CAP, founded by Democrat John Podesta with Soros funding, $10 million initial, ongoing ties via Open Society, grants totaling millions since 2003, and Soros' 2024 donations exceeding $10 million to Dem causes, acts as paid opposition, pushing progressive agendas that favor big government over America First reforms. Podesta's influence, e.g., as Clinton Chief of Staff and Obama counselor, shapes CAP's output to criticize protectionism, affecting the situation by advocating for open borders and outsourcing that displace workers, while Soros donations enable reports influencing public opinion toward globalism, swaying masses to oppose remedies like tariffs that could rebuild Black economic footholds. Similar biases appear in ACLU and EPI critiques, which downplay potential benefits of onshoring to maintain pro-immigration stances aligned with Democratic donors.